Alright, so with the sphere, you've got your light source coming from the upper right hand corner, and that's going to shine the light down onto the sphere or the ball, and it's going to create a highlight. You're going to go ahead and I would recommend doing some light guidelines for yourself. Notice these are very, very light, but starting with the highlight and then kind of working your way around to the outer sides. Okay? Just kind of giving that nice highlight. So now you're going to have a highlight where the light hits. That's what I'm pointing to right now. And then you're going to have your core shadow, which is your darkest area. Down at the bottom, you're going to have your reflected light. And that's where the light is going to hit the table and bounce back up. And that's why it's going to be a little bit lighter on that side of the sphere or the ball. And then you're going to have your shadow. If you notice, I made a mistake on where I drew the shadow in. The shadow would actually be on the other side because the light is coming from the upper right, and the light would be blocked by the ball, and that's why it would go on the surface on the left side, not the right where I drew it in. So be careful there. So it's going to get messy before it gets neat, and what you're seeing here is I'm just putting in a light layer of graphite all over the entire sphere, leaving the lightest area where that highlight is. I apologize for going off camera. But with everything, you want to leave that highlight there. But with everything art, you want to work in layers. Same thing is true for drawing, for graphite, for charcoal, for painting, for colored pencil, for marker. Not when you're coloring something, but when you're actually trying to make art and to create some shading and some depth, you want to work in layers. So I am just going around. Notice I keep turning my paper because I want my hand, the arc of my wrist, to do the work for me and not try to fit it into some weird sort of direction. But I'm just adding more layers, and as I turn, each time I don't go quite as far into the center as I work my way out, adding the next layer. By turning your paper like this too and working in short segments, you're also having your line work follow the curve of the sphere. And then as you go back around to add your next layer, if you kind of overlap where your pencil marks were, like we did with our value scales, it's going to help even out all of those pencil marks. And it takes some time. If you guys notice, this video is almost 8 minutes long, where the others were all about 2, and all of these are sped up to about a double speed. So it really took me about 15 minutes to do this sphere, where it took me about 5 minutes to do the others. So it's going to take you some time, so be patient and just keep adding your layers. So again, as I go around, I keep turning my paper and adding another layer of graphite. Turn and shade, turn and shade. And it's just not going fully to the center. And if you do that, you'll start to notice that you're starting to build up this nice highlight and a nice gradual transition from the lightest area where the light is hitting to the darker areas of the sphere. You're going to continue with this. And then once you're starting to kind of have that area, you're going to go ahead and you're going to be able to start to put in your cast or your core shadow. That's your darkest area. So once you kind of are able to start seeing the ball form kind of become supposed to be more realistic, then you can go ahead and add in that core shadow. And that's what I'm about to do right here. Is I'm going to go ahead and just put in that darker, almost a stripe, but not quite, just a darker value along that area. And once you've got that in, then you're going to be able to go and blend that with your creating your gradient. You're going to blend that to up to where the highlight, where the lighter area is, and then blend it down into where your reflected light is going to be on the sphere. So you want this area that we're adding in here to be about where your 4 is going to be, your darkest area. And then you're going to blend it down with the gradient to create, blend it down to like a 3 for the reflected light. And then you're going to blend it up into the highlight area from the 4 to a 3 to a 2, leaving the highlight area about where your 1 is. As you get that blended, then you can start to see if you want to add some more dark area. You want to continue to make sure that you are working all the way around the sphere, not just in stripes from side to side, but work around that sphere. Add more dark areas in. Go ahead and press harder in some of those areas to create a true core shadow where it is your darkest area there. I'm getting in much darker now. Now that I have that super dark area. Now I need to go back and blend that down towards the reflected light, and then I'm going to blend it up towards the highlight. You always can add more value, more layers of darkness. You can't always go and pick it back up and make it lighter again. So it's important that you work in light layers and build it up. If you do that, you're going to be successful because you can correct your mistake as you go. If you're trying to rush it and you just go super, super heavy-handed and a lot of pressure and put a lot of dark areas in, you likely are going to have them in the wrong place and you're not going to be happy with your results. So take your time. Make sure you're working all the way around the sphere. Notice there it's not quite even, so I'm going back in and evening that out. It should form a round circular shape as it forms around the sphere. If it starts to get misshapen in any way, go back in and adjust your shading so that way it evens out. A lot of it's just kind of practice and playing with it until you get it to where you want it to be. Again, take your time. Once you get your sphere to kind of how you want it, then you're going to go ahead and put in your shadow. And your shadow is going to come up really, really dark, as hard as you can press, right underneath the sphere, because that's where the light is completely blocked by the object. Then you're going to kind of take and fade that out into a gradient as it moves further away from the sphere, because as the light is hitting the object, it's casting that shadow onto the surface, but the light is going to be more diffused as it moves further away from the object, and so it's going to kind of blend out like we show here. Once you've got that, you're good.